Welcome to the PrepZone show presented by Bevill State Community College. I'm Johnathan Bentley, joined with my co-host, Zach McCullar. Zach, we're into the playoffs now.
Yeah, that's right. We're
it's a good thing that we're in the playoffs and it's fun bowl season and everything, but the bad news is, like in a couple months, we're going to be done.
Yeah, basketball.
The waiting game.
It's basketball.
No, we don't count that.
Baseball. But, man, it's we're getting close to the dark season, but we do have enough football left to tide us over till the new year. And
that's true.
All that high school football ends this next week.
Yep.
College is going to end in about a month. So
it'll be over. But until then, we still got some stuff to talk about. So we're going to start the show still talking about what we got left in high school football, which, as you said, the championships are this week. And good luck to those teams. We don't have anybody there again for the – it's been many years.
I know.
I can't even remember the last time.
We have to have somebody go to championship games.
The year I got married was the same day Cordova won it. It was like 2007. And I think that's the last time anybody's won it.
That was before I was born.
Right.
Oh, man. It has been long.
Cordova got back several times after that, but, yeah, nobody's won it since then. But anyway, so we're going to talk about our PrepZone player and coach of the year. So the player was pretty simple, right?
It was. It was fairly obvious who was going to get our player of the year. Cale Tittle, the quarterback/defensive back for Lynn. His stats are ridiculous. 45 total touchdowns. You put down in our notes here, 4.5 touchdowns a game on average.
It's unbelievable. I had to bring out the calculator for that. I mean, this guy, if he's not a finalist for 1A Player of the Year, something's wrong. He should be.
He should.
And hopefully he will be.
Yeah, I hope
That's
so, too.
yet to be determined. If it was up to us, he'd probably win it.
Oh, definitely.
But, yeah. But he is our Player of the Year, and it was pretty simple this season. It's been really difficult in years past. He was in the mix last year, but we had people with two other guys with huge stats, so he didn't get it. But this year is clearly – I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, 26 touchdown passes, 27 rushing.
And a fumble return touchdown. Yeah. You got to count that defensive touchdown. And he also
had 54 touchdowns is just it's unheard of.
That's a good way to ring out your senior season.
Yeah. And I hope they realize this guy, it's going to be hard to replace.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Lynn always has good players, but.
As I've heard many coaches say, you're not going to replace him with just one. It's going to take 3 or 4 players to actually replace all that he's done for his team because he's an outstanding athlete.
It's fun to watch.
Oh, definitely.
Lynn was a lot of fun to watch the last few years. Okay, our coach of the year, you want to talk about that one as well?
I will. I'll take Trent Campbell, our coach of the year. Definitely deserves it at corner. A 10-2 season, broke nearly every record that they had. The second round of the playoffs for the second time in school history. They broke the record for wins in a season, consecutive wins, and points in a season. And that's all in his first season as head coach.
God, how do you beat that?
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, they raised the bar. I mean, really, going in, I thought Dora would kind of have this stuff right here. And it turned out to be corner, which, they lost so much last year. Lost the running back, right. And just I did not expect that. And just incredible job. I don't know if a year ago I would have been like, Trent Campbell, I don't know. Who knows what to expect?
Yes.
But now we're going to expect this, right?
Exactly. It's going to be, like you said, it's going to be tough to repeat these numbers, but hopefully the Yellow Jackets can pull it through.
Yeah, and we'll see where they fall, if they move up a classification or stay 4A. We'll find that out pretty soon, later this month. All right, so congratulations to Tittle and Campbell. I think those are pretty good candidates.
They are. They're very deserving. Sometimes you have to scrounge together, and it's tough. And do they really deserve it? Well, this year we got people who really deserved it, and other people in the background too that were unable to get these awards that have really had great seasons as well. So definitely, it was. While the records may not show it, it was a good season of football in our area.
Yeah, those two had exceptional. Definitely. They both went 10-2, second round of the playoffs, and ran into a buzzsaw. Well,
both of them.
Yeah,
did. It was.
Cooster Christian still going for Lynn, the team that beat Lynn. And then the next week, they won by 50. So Lynn might have been the second-best team in 1A. Who knows?
There's a chance.
Second-best team in the North, I believe. Just ran into them early.
A second-best team in the North is not a bad position to be in because there were a lot of good 1A schools.
Yeah, and Pickens, of course. They beat them again. All right, so we'll jump into college. It was a crazy weekend. I mean, just it's not what I expected.
No.
Right?
Not in the least.
It's not. So Alabama makes the playoffs. We found out after church or during church.
For some people. It depends on who was paying attention.
Right. But what were your, when you heard that, what'd you think?
Well, I was standing right by you. My mouth just dropped. You're the one that told me you broke the news, and my mouth dropped because I couldn't believe it. I didn't think we were going to get into the playoffs because Florida State's sitting there undefeated, even with their backup quarterback. I mean, Alabama's a better team, but they didn't deserve it as much. Depends on what language you go by there. But I was shocked.
Yeah, it seemed like you had just resigned yourself to that they weren't making it.
Yeah, I was ready for the Orange Bowl, play Louisville. Disappointing season.
Oh, my gosh. No, it's a little bit different now.
Oh, yes. You got Michigan.
So Michigan in the Rose Bowl, that's going to be fun.
And Michigan not happy about having to play Alabama first round.
They were all ready to play Florida State.
Oh, yes.
And kill them and get to the championship game. Now this will be a little bit more difficult.
It will, and they don't have Alabama signs either.
No.
They hadn't had time to steal them.
They'll make up for time. All right, so Alabama broke Georgia's 29-game winning streak. It was a lot of going on. You know, first you had the SEC championship game. Then you had to wait. I mean, it was an exciting last couple of days for Alabama and their fans. All right, so what did you think about Georgia?
Georgia, it was an impressive win for Alabama. You beat Georgia by 3. Of course, Georgia's best player, Brock Bowers, was not at 100%. But I will say this, give Alabama credit because it was a third-string defensive back covering him because of injuries. Trey Amos, he was covering Brock Bowers, did a great job. Alabama just looked better than Georgia.
That's the thing.
It's hard to look better than the two-time reigning national champions.
I think they just ran through the schedule and kind of had their scares every once in a while. They just weren't what they've been the last 2 years.
Right.
And Alabama took advantage of it. And now this thing's wide open. I mean, the other two teams we haven't talked about yet, Washington and Texas.
That's going to be an outstanding game.
We could see a Texas-Alabama rematch.
I would love to see that in Houston, too, which it's in Texas's backyard, but Alabama beat Georgia in their own backyard. So.
That is true, yep. All right, so where does this rank for Saban's SEC championships?
Well, I will say that it's towards the top, but it's not as good as the last time Alabama was in the SEC championship game in 2021. It was a similar situation.
Right.
Alabama absolutely dominated. Of course, the season didn't end as well because Georgia got its revenge. But all that's in the past now. So it's going to be 2009 was a great SEC championship game because it was the first time Alabama had won it in a decade, and it was a big deal. Lots of other times as well. 2012 when it was a 2-3 matchup with Georgia that Alabama won in the last second.
That was a fun game.
There was the 3-year stretch where Alabama beat up on Florida consecutive
mismatches
back to back.
Yes.
So I would say this is probably second or third on the list.
Especially kind of who would have thought this after the Texas game.
Right.
Or even after the South Florida game.
And speaking of South Florida game, Alabama, the quarterback that replaced Jalen Milroe in that game, Tyler Butner, he's in the transfer portal, but not to play football, to play lacrosse.
Yeah, I didn't know Alabama had lacrosse, but
no, Alabama does not have a lacrosse team. That's why
maybe they have a club lacrosse team.
That's why I left. That's why I left because Alabama offered no lacrosse, and he wasn't getting it done on football.
Yeah, did he start a game?
He did.
He can always say he started a game for Alabama.
For Alabama.
Yes, man,
and got
unbelievable.
Yeah. But he did start at least.
He did. You can't say he started one game, which is more than most people.
Scored a touchdown too, not against South Florida, but the first game of the season in backup duty against Middle Tennessee.
That's right.
You go from scoring touchdowns with one of the top teams in the country to lacrosse.
That is a lot of running. Lacrosse is like constant running.
It's almost as bad as soccer in terms of running.
Yes. Yeah, it's got to be, you cover miles in a game.
And how do you even shoot with those little nets? See, lacrosse seems impossible.
It's a very difficult, it's a grueling sport. I know UAH has lacrosse, but it's going to be interesting to where he ends up going because I don't think we have lacrosse anywhere in the South. It's kind of like wrestling.
Right, or hockey.
Yeah, we just don't have it around here. UAH had hockey at one point as well.
That's true.
So they don't anymore. Yeah, I think they still have a club team. Yeah. All right, so Florida State was snubbed somebody had to go.
That's true. One of the deserving teams. So basically, Michigan, Washington, they were in.
Undefeated.
There are 4 teams battling for 2 spots: Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Florida State. Mm-hmm. Florida State's undefeated, but they don't have their quarterback. Jordan Travis out for the season with a broken leg. I hate to hear it for him, but that kept him out of the playoffs. Like the committee used the bylaw about you have to take injuries into consideration, and that's how Florida State got left out. Of course, Georgia got left out as well. But
yeah, I think in a typical year, they both make it.
Definitely.
Because, there's not usually 2 undefeated teams, and there's usually not this many one-loss teams that are good. So it was really difficult.
If this were last year, Florida State and Georgia could have both gotten in.
Yeah, I think Georgia would have that game wouldn't have mattered that much. Right. This year, though, boom, they're out.
And they dropped to 6th. And one thing I disagree with the committee was the fact that, okay, I see dropping Florida State out of the playoffs, but they shouldn't have gone ahead of Georgia, because if you're saying Alabama's a better team than Florida State, Georgia's definitely a better team than Florida State as well.
It was a 3-point game.
Yeah.
And that's their only loss. And now those teams play each other.
And that's going to be an outstanding game.
I think they'll drill them.
I do too.
Well, you never can tell who's up for these
Depends
games.
On who opts out and
Florida
all that.
could be just out of their minds, mad, and play well. Because the backup quarterback will be back.
That's right.
Second string.
And we don't know if Georgia players are going to opt out. Florida State players opt out.
very well could. Yes,
transfer
absolutely.
portal. I mean, both teams have already lost a little bit on the transfer portal. Nobody major, but.
Exactly. All right, so speaking of snubs, do you remember any Alabama? I know you don't remember.
Well, I don't remember.
They have been snubbed so little. It's been 45 years since they were snubbed. Is that correct?
Roughly 45. 46.
Okay.
But, yeah, I dug around and I found 3 snubs in Alabama football history. 1945, 1966, and 1977. Start with 1945. That's before there was very much cooperation in terms of finding a national championship. Alabama went undefeated, didn't get noticed. But that's the 40s. World War II was going on, so sports writers.
Didn't care.
So writers were not interested in sports. They had definitely,
Army, probably.
Yeah, they had other important things bugging at them. Now to the Bryant era, 66, Alabama goes undefeated, but there's a tie between Michigan State and Notre Dame ahead of Alabama. Alabama's at 11-0. Those two teams were at 10-1. Because the sports writers apparently like Notre Dame. Notre Dame got the national championship. Michigan State comes in second. Bama finishes third.
That's not right.
Not fun.
I think that's a missing ring.
There are a couple of missing rings.
Yeah, for Alabama.
And then 1977, Alabama entered the final weekend ranked third, and things weren't looking great for them. But then number 1 goes down and number 2 goes down. Alabama looks like they're in perfect position to cruise up to number 1. They win their bowl game. Everything's great. Well, Notre Dame was sitting at 5th. They beat the number 1 team in the country. The writers put Notre Dame ahead of Alabama. Notre Dame gets the national championship. More outrage.
Wow. So twice Notre Dame was
Notre
involved.
Dame.
Incredible.
That's why most Alabama fans do not like Notre Dame.
I understand that. Neither of those is even fair, really.
No.
Yeah, we needed the playoff back then.
We did. We needed
a incredible. Alabama against Notre Dame both those years.
That would have been excellent. If you could go back 50, 60, 70 years or so and just add a 14 playoff to every situation, wouldn't that would be fun?
Yes. Auburn might have more than 2.
Probably.
Well, they've added some more.
They've claimed.
Yeah, we kind of just claim those. Nobody's talking about it.
93.
See, it's on the board.
They should have claimed 93 as a national championship because they were the best team in the country.
93, they were seen but not heard.
Heard but not seen.
You cannot watch them on TV.
Yeah, they were on probation.
Which is the weirdest. So you're penalizing every team they play by putting them off TV. You can't even watch the Iron Bowl in 93. Is that not crazy?
Glad
people can't. You can't even picture this nowadays. It's the only time it's ever happened. A TV ban. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I don't have that on my Auburn snubs here.
But
I only have 2.
I think Auburn was the best team in the country that year. Just going back and studying it because
they were
on probation.
That's
why they didn't.
Yes, that's why they weren't on TV.
But weren't they the only undefeated team in the country that year?
Correct. They won. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't even go to the SEC championship game. Was in Birmingham back then.
Right. Now, Alabama got to go.
So last time in Birmingham, I was at that game. Florida beat them. I think Alabama 24-13 or something like that. It was in the rain. It was awful. Anyway, I mentioned the 83 team, which is very similar to the 77 deal, where they're ranked in front of Miami, but Miami beats the number 1 team. They leapfrog them. Auburn's left waiting.
Well, it's similar to what happened to Florida State this year. Alabama beats the number 1 teams where Alabama hops Florida State.
They jump them, and you have no chance, and that's what happened.
And
back then, there was 2 ways to win. You can win AP or UPI.
Right.
They won neither. So, very disappointing that year. Good year for Miami, though. They kind of started the Miami thing because they actually beat Nebraska.
That ran for over a decade.
Ran a long way. Yeah, Alabama kind of messed it up a little bit. All right, and 04, Auburn goes undefeated yet again. There's 2 teams. This time we have a playoff, but BCS, it's a 2-team playoff. So it was Oklahoma, USC. USC kills Oklahoma. Then USC has to vacate the championship. So shouldn't Auburn be moved up?
That's right. Auburn should get it in.
They won their bowl game that year. I think it was Virginia Tech. And they kind of got – I would have loved to see USC Auburn that year. Obviously, it's easy to say that after the fact.
USC would have won that, though, wouldn't they?
They had Reggie Bush, so that would have been
Take Reggie Bush off the field, though. Put him in another Wendy's commercial. They don't have.
Yeah, and he lost the Heisman. So, I mean, they had everything vacated that year, and Auburn's still sitting here undefeated with nothing.
Why do you take it away after they won it? There's no point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take away the celebration, right?
Yeah, you go
look. They felt.
If you look in the record book for every single team in the country, their history, there's going to be a lot of vacated games. Alabama's got vacated games way back in the record book, 90s, 2000s.
If you look at Stallings' record, you can't really figure out what it is because of those vacated games.
That's right. The '93 season where Alabama wound up going 9-3-1, it's down in the record books as 1-12 because of all the vacations.
Right.
Vacations. I mean, that's the technical word, but it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, vacation. Exactly. There was no vacation that year. Now, didn't they have another year where that happened, or was it just 93 for Alabama?
Well, there were other seasons where there were vacations, but 93 was one of the rare instances where they actually forfeited it. So all those wins go in the loss column. Outside of that, there was Mike Shula's last year there was Mike Shula's, not his last year, it's next to the last year where Alabama went 10-2.
10-2.
The 10 games are vacated, so the official record book has it as 0-2 season.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that was.
It's interesting what you uncovered looking through the record
Alabama
books.
was on. Alabama and Auburn were on probation a lot.
They didn't
going in like the 80s and 90s was bad. We haven't had that in a while.
That's
thankfully.
right. There are very few scandals not called Michigan.
Yes, and the NCAA has no power now, so you can do whatever you want.
Basically,
you might get in trouble 10 years from now.
Vacate something.
Yes, when it means nothing at that point. All right, so we're kind of moved to Zach's picks here. Do you have any picks this week?
I do.
We're still a little ways off from the start of bowl season. So.
And there's a lot of things that are going to have to happen before bowl season, before we can actually have a clue of who to pick. So how about some high school football? Let's go with the Super 7, as well as one cameo appearance from a college game. We're going to go into Army-Navy first. Give Army-Navy first. Between the service academies, who do you think wins?
I think the winner goes to a bowl game. Is that right?
I
think they're both 5-6.
They're both 5-6, but the question is, Army was 5-6 last year. They won that game. They wind up 6-6, but nobody invites them.
Oh, well, yeah. So maybe not. Well, we didn't have enough bowl teams this year.
That's right.
I haven't looked through the list. Maybe Army's on it. So I'm taking Army this year. I think they're better than Navy.
That's true. And I will say, if you decide to tune into that game, watch out because both teams have started throwing the ball more.
Yes, this isn't your traditional terrible to watch Army-Navy game where they're just running.
The Army-Navy game is supposed to be triple option. That's what
Navy
it's supposed to be.
killed UAB this year.
That was strange.
I wasn't even close. UAB was 0-8. They were 0-4 on the road. I guess they'd be 0-6. Yeah, 4-2 at home. They were a terrible road team. But this is a neutral site game.
That's right.
I think Army's just better than them. They already beat Air Force this year.
So do I. Navy, they've had a softer schedule than Army, I think. So that's the reason their records are the same. So I went with Army as well. Now to high school, we're going to go in order. Start with 7A. Wednesday night, Thompson, Central Phoenix City. Who do you think wins that?
Yeah, I'm not going in against Thompson. It's like picking Alabama, which I did not do last week.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I even said you don't do that, and I did it. And it cost me.
Shame on you.
Dearly.
Shame.
It cost me nothing, but yeah.
Well, a lot of pride
yes.
cost you. I got to go with Thompson as well. Their only loss is to Clay Chalkville. Thompson's played a tougher schedule than Central Phoenix City. Central Phoenix is undefeated, though, so credit them. They're undefeated, but not for long.
That is Patrick Nix's team.
That's true.
Bo Nix's father. Yeah. He's a great high school coach. Always has been.
All right. Next game, we're going to go to 6A. Speaking of Clay Chalkville, they're going to be playing Saraland, 2 undefeateds. Clay Chalkville's 13-0. Saraland is 14-0. Clay Chalkville, the only team in the state to beat Thompson this year as well. That's something that I thought interesting.
And I'm still picking against them.
So am I. I've got to. Because
Saraland is, they're really, really good now.
They're insanely good. If you look, I was looking for any reason to pick Clay Chalkville because I watched that Thompson-Clay Chalkville game on TV. Clay Chalkville was a great game. Excellent. They were an extremely well-prepared team. Their quarterback's an Alabama commit. Not committed to play quarterback, committed to play defensive back. But nonetheless, it's a star-studded team. But Saraland's just so much better than everybody else.
Yeah, they really, last couple of years, have just taken that next step.
Saraland's been ranked first the entire season, first week to the last week. Clay Chalkville's been ranked second
the entire season.
So it's 1 versus 2. I'm picking number 1, Saraland.
That is tough to beat Thompson and not go to number 1. But, yeah.
But Saraland's been so good.
That tells you how good Saraland is.
And it's going to be a good game. We're going to move to 5A. Gulf Shores is taking on Ramsey. Who do you see winning this one?
I'm probably going to go Gulf Shores. I know Ramsey plays a brutal schedule.
They do.
Just brutal in Birmingham in the area here. But Gulf Shores is coached by the former UNA coach, Mark Hudspeth. And apparently he's really put them on the map.
He has.
You don't hear much about Gulf Shores football, but that's undefeated.
Right. 14-0. And Ramsey played Jasper this season.
Yes, they did.
And it was
bad.
But that is
They're
one of the
really good. They won it last year.
That's right. It's one of the few teams are playing in the Super 7 that one of our area teams met this year.
That's right. Mm-hmm. One of 2, I think.
Yeah, the other one's Coosa Christian. We'll get into them later. Mm-hmm. So you are going to be picking Gulf Shores.
Mm-hmm.
So am I.
Really?
So am I. I got to go with Gulf Shores here. I think that they're just better. I mean, we've said that a lot, but, man, to go undefeated like that, they've looked very impressive the entire season.
It's also hard to believe that Gulf Shores is only a 5A high school.
I know. It seems like that'd be a 7A.
At least 6, yeah.
It seems like it'd be 7A.
I bet that grows.
Oh, I'm sure it will. They'll probably
move
up to
6.
Both. Next up is 4A. We're going in order, top to bottom. 4A, Montgomery Catholic versus Cherokee County. Montgomery Catholic is 14-0. Cherokee County 13-1. Who are you going to pick?
I'm not going Cherokee County. I'm going to go Catholic. Cherokee County, they played the school my niece goes to last week, and it was just a drubbing. So Cherokee County is really good in the north, but these south teams are they're way more, they're battle-tested more, I think. So the north really was, I mean, you had Corner and Dora and teams like that and 4A North, but south was just.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. The south part of the state
loaded.
is almost always better in every single division except 7A.
Yeah, 4A definitely. So I'll go Catholic.
I'm going to have to go with, now is it Montgomery Catholic or Catholic Montgomery? They go by both.
I think it should be Catholic Montgomery, shouldn't it?
It sounds better. Catholic Montgomery sounds better. But I'm going to go with the team from Montgomery. Just for lack of a better name. So we're going to call, for the record, Catholic Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Catholic Montgomery indeed. Now 3A, Mobile Christian, Madison Academy. Both are 14-0. It's going to be. You think it's going to be a great game? Who you got?
Well, I never pick Huntsville area teams. The only one that's ever won it in the county is Madison Academy. And it's been a while. So for them to get back, it's really impressive. I didn't expect that. Especially after seeing Mars Hill play and knowing some of those other teams. That Lauderdale County was really good, and they got through all of them, but I'm not picking Madison Academy.
Really?
No.
See, Madison Academy is one of those traditionally great schools.
Yes.
In terms of
and they're back. Program. It's good to have them back up top.
I've always learned to be safe, pick the traditionally greats because they have been there and they know how to handle it. So I am going to go with Madison Academy to finish the season undefeated and win Class 3A.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mobile Christian won either.
They were back up. I mean, Madison Academy was back up to 4A because they had won so much.
That's right.
And now they're back down to 3A where they probably belong.
Yeah.
This will be a tough game. Yeah, it could go either way.
You know, the academies, you see it, the academy, you assume private schools. So for private school to be in 4A, you know, it's going to be tough. But like you say, back down in 3A, I agree they belong there, and I think they are going to win the state championship. 2A. Fife versus Reeltown. Reeltown is undefeated. Fife has one loss, but can you really pick against Fife in a state championship game?
I'm not going to. No way.
Neither am I.
That's about the only North team I think I'm picking here. Well, Thompson. But, yeah, Fife is just a different beast. Once it gets to the playoffs, they don't lose.
They could have a bad season, be fourth in their region, just barely make the playoffs, and then they'll storm through the playoffs.
And they play a really tough schedule over there.
They do, and they challenge themselves, and they thrive in it. I got Fife because you can't pick against them.
And Reeltown, yeah, they're kind of historic. They've had a really good run before. It's good to see them back up top. That'll be a good game.
Now the final high school Super 7 game, 1A, Leroy versus Coosa Christian. Mm-hmm. And we've seen Coosa Christian. They shut down Lynn, looked really good, but Can you pick against one of the 1A teams from the South?
Can you say the Acoustic Christians record?
9-5 by technicality.
That is not.
They shouldn't be.
That is throwing people off. They actually have one loss. I think it was Geraldine,
12,
the opener.
Yeah, they should be 12-1.
Right, and that's the loss is really good. I don't know. I mean, this is their chance. They're really, really good. I saw them against Lynn, and it was very, very impressive. They're huge, just huge and fast, and boy, they laid some hits in that game. So did Lynn, but that team was next level. But I'm still picking them to lose.
That's right. You have to
Leroy. Yeah.
Because if you can win the South bracket in 1A,
you have done something. You've gone through Elba. I mean, that's not easy.
Because I got family down in that part of that southern part of the state, and everybody, even if you don't care about football, you know all the traditional programs. It's something you don't see a lot because there's so many traditional programs down there. So
absolutely.
It's insane.
You know, you have hotbeds in this state.
Right.
Then you have cold beds in this state. And are we in a cold bed?
I mean, you could say.
Right now, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to say for sure.
If Parrish was still around, I think we probably wouldn't be. But, I mean, I'm talking like Huntsville has never won it. Like I said before, like I said a minute ago, the whole county has never won a state champ. I mean, that's a whole huge city that doesn't even have a football team, basically, that's really good. That's why the South is so much better. Montgomery and Mobile and just little areas down
little
there.
Small towns.
Like Brantley used to be really good. Places like that. Yeah. That's why the South, I think we only picked, you picked Madison Academy.
I did. I went with Madison Academy. I also
we went with Fife.
And of course, Fife, you have to pick Fife.
Fife is, it's different because Gadsden is a really good area too, out that way.
But yeah, that
wraps up.
It does. It's going to wrap up Zach's picks.
And that'll be the end of high school season, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. It's a very dark, it'll be dark outside and dark as well.
Yeah, dark
this time of year.
Dark at 4 in the afternoon.
I really don't like this time of year. I like the football play. I love bowl games.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, even the ones that don't matter.
Yeah, I don't mind watching some famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Yes, I can watch the Mayo Bowl.
The Bahamas Bowl that's been temporarily moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Because that is very, very close to the Bahamas when you think about it.
Yes, it really
Charlotte's
is.
right down.
It's right there.
You can drive there, I think, from the Bahamas.
Totally.
Yeah, right down the road.
I'm sure you can. It may be a soggy drive, though.
Yeah, a little bit. Hurricane area, too. So, all right, that wraps up our show. We want to thank Bevill State again. By the way, their basketball team's won 4 in a row.
They're really good. They've turned it around with the new coach.
They had a tough start to the season, a tough schedule to start. But now here they are in games where they have a chance to win. And they really start conference play like in January. But they're already 2-0 in the conference. So it's a really good start to the season under Coach Connor. But we want to thank Bevill State for that. Thank Jake for producing and Zach for being here again. And we'll see you down the road. I should have said when we'll see you down the road. When? 2 weeks?
Maybe. When's the first bowl game? The 16th?
Yes. So that would mean next week.
Well, today's the 5th. 16th. But, I mean, the first bowl game is probably going to be Bahamas or Myrtle Beach.
Well, let's look.
Yeah, honestly.
It is garbage, I'm sure.
I mean,
Georgia State, maybe?
The most entertaining bowl games, in my opinions, are the 10-2 group of 5s versus the 6